every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific on UCY.tv. I am your host, Drew Lamb, and today I am joined by my good friend and guest, miner Dave Everest, and we're going to get into mining and the possibility of using a gold mine or a mining claim as a potential bug out. I don't know if that's viable or not, but we'll get into that today. Dave, welcome to the show.
Welcome. I had to unmute. It takes me a second.
No problem. Yeah, we've had you on Double Cross Radio several times. And,
you're breaking up.
Oh, you can't hear me very well?
Well, it comes in and out. It's probably because usually after I'm on this show, I usually have to reset my router because I become under attack from a service denial.
Well, let's do a mic check. Hey, guys in chat, are we broadcasting loud and clear? I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat too. I want to say hi to Jules, 17 Meat Dog.
I like to say before we get started,
oh, yeah?
I support Jules. I don't know what her politics are, but exactly. But she has a good forum for people to come and speak their mind. And I appreciate you, Drew and Chuck, and even Vincent. I'm sorry to see that his show is going. Thursday was his last day. But I really respect Vincent Jr. I don't always agree with him, but he at least lets you get out your opinion.
Absolutely, and it's important to let everybody know that these are our opinions, and they are not the opinions of UCY, the UCY Network, Jules, or any other radio show hosts that are out there.
Well, I stand in support for Jules and what she's doing. I support Jules and what she's doing at UCY TV.
As do I. Thanks. I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat here. We've got Dal, Dan B. Cooper, Desert Hawk, Dog Boy 322, I Am Lone Frog, JJ, Joe Friday, Maddie, Road Dog, Salvener, Vincent. Thanks for tuning in today, you guys. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, Dave, we've talked about this a little bit over the past couple of years. About how to prospect and how to stake a claim, but I'm still not clear at what point to start, and I'm always thinking about possible bug out strategies, and
first off, that's a good idea, but you can't use that as a reason to file a claim. You have but what I always tell people is that you need to start transitioning yourself into your post collapse lifestyle, and that could just start out as a hobby, or it could start out as a side business. It could also be you wouldn't have the entanglements if you weren't living on it directly, right, and you filed it and you just followed all the rules and kept your as far as your maintenance rules, so you can keep it either by paying the money or doing a maintenance report, affidavit of assessment. If you have less than 10 claims, you can do work for it. But they've recently, the BLM has changed it. They want 2 years worth of maintenance in cash before they'll let you do the maintenance. It's a bogus rule, and the minor districts will have to change.
Good to consider that possibility, because you're going to have to start developing some new skills, and
having
you have a lot to learn.
Trade, and so I think that this could be, a good strategy to consider. And I know I like to play precious metals. Mm-hmm. And so what I was reading today, I was reading an article about how in Northern California, the rivers are really low because of the drought.
Right.
And so some of the miners are doing pretty well right now because they're able to get into some places that they couldn't before.
That's right, because if the water is too swift and too thin, you have to put about a couple 100 pounds of weight on you so you don't float down the river.
Right.
Or creek.
Yeah.
I'm going to say my creek is a little bit down from where it would have been in May, but it's at where it's always at right now. And it's got a lot of water. I mean, compared to other creeks and streams. And there used to be a dam in there down the road. It used to be a lot deeper that would have been impossible to mine it. But when the dam blew out in 1997 from the flood, they didn't put it back because they got the Applegate Dam 8 miles down the road. So, and the original mine was built for miners because from that dam down below, before they put the Applegate Dam in, they used to hydro back in the day. The lower levels where they took out, well, in today's economic standards, it would be almost billions or trillions of dollars. What is it? I'm trying to think of the name. What is it? I can't remember the name of the district right off the hand, but the district there, because back then, before they got the mining law, they had to pay 1 ounce out of every 5 ounces to the United States government as royalty. But in 1866, the Congress decided the administrations at the time were harassing miners, especially on placer, because you couldn't. They weren't believing how much gold they were getting. Well, they were getting I don't know how much a day, but overall, this is what was paid to the government: 53 million ounces of gold or thereabouts. It would have been Steamboat Mining District, and that was just the one, and that wasn't the richest one around here. There was more richer ones like other districts. And now the nice thing about the mining law is you're allowed entry. Now, if you don't mind, if you want seclusion and you don't want a road right up to where you're going, if you want it really as a bug out, you have to pick out areas that you'll have to that you can build a trail. And you want to have a stream in front of it so you can cross the stream, like walk across the stream, and on the other side you could have a quad or whatever, and you could drive to the location if you built the trail all the way there for, like, say, a quad, and you could get to the claim that way. You could get in and out. Now, a lot of these places would be hard in the wintertime unless you were totally stocked up, because at the elevations you'd be at, you'd be buried in snow. You have to have like A-frame homes or they collapse. Mm-hmm. But basically what you have to do is you have to go out and right now, the easiest way to do this is go to the BLM or get on their website, and in the area that you want to be looking at, you go to the BLM, you go to the SRL 2000, and you can get in that area the list of closed and open claims. And then you want an open claim. A closed claim means it's already filed on, and it's closed from filing until either the miner gives it up or whatever. Because a lot of miners would work a claim for a while and they die or whatever. And if they didn't have it patented and they didn't have anybody to leave it to, it would just revert back to the trust, and then for another miner to come in and file on. Any buildings or anything. Now, the Forest Service on Forest Service lands burn all those cabins down. They broke the law because that improvement to the property is supposed to stay to the next miner.
Oh.
And back in the 70s, they burnt down a lot of those buildings. They burnt down all the cabins out in Steamboat Mining District up off of Stevens Creek, where there was a township. but because people died off, it folded. And
but they didn't really have the authority to do that, because
no,
what we're talking about is a form of an estate.
That's right. It'd be like burning down the White House.
Right.
Secondly, in the provisions in the mining law, they first passed it in 1866 for hard rock. And then the miners said, well, there's gold in this placer, and but it's complicated, it's a lot different. They later on, because we were only borrowing it and using a small consumption, because you can use it, you can use it for your daily life, and that is being consumed. But it's being, but 95% of it is being consumed. It's not being consumed. It's just going right straight back in the creek. And so that's just, and we're allowed to divert the water under the mining law water rights and the 1909 water rights. Now, if you have agricultural, you're secondary to the mining rights, and it goes by the date you got your water right. And this is for communities as well, as like the Medford Water Commission or whoever has it. They don't own the water rights. They own the piping system, and these taxes these cities are imposing on water are illegal. They're highly illegal because they can only charge you for the maintenance of the water lines or the ditches or whatever system they got delivering the water. They're just a delivery system. They don't own the water rights. Mm-hmm. And so in 1934 that they got that gentleman out here up by Butte Falls, that court case is a fraud committed on the court, and a fraud committed by the judge, the administrative judge that decided it. That guy should sue everybody in federal district court, Washington, D.C., for violating his water right.
Yes, I mean this is a little off the topic here, but it is.
I had to get that out because
and I'd like to elaborate on that a little bit. That was Gary Harrington here in Southern Oregon, and he actually had a permit from the county to construct a water reservoir on his property. I don't recall how many acres it was, but it was fairly large. And then they revoked the permit, and he didn't comply and protest. And then I think he went to jail for 30 days.
He went to jail twice for 30 days.
Yes. Now, one thing that I've discovered recently, and this is relevant to Off-Grid Journey, so we talk about this for a few minutes, then jump back to mining. But because of this issue with Pastor Gary Harrington, a lot of people around here, and this has picked up steam all across the country, believe that they don't have the right to collect water on their own property, which is completely untrue. And as a matter of fact, I discovered a page on the City of Ashland's website encouraging people, especially because we're in a drought right now, encouraging people to build rain barrels and attach them to their gutter downspouts to collect water to use in their.
They're giving grants for it in Josephine County.
Yeah, so
through the federal government pass through.
So it's. I mean. First of all, you've got a right as a human being to obtain water. There's a moral issue there, but from a property ownership standpoint, you have a right as well, and also municipalities, they're encouraging it, especially in the West where we're having problems with drought. So I've cornered the market on plastic poly barrels around here, and so I'm actually constructing rain barrel systems for people to buy, so that they can connect them.
Make me a donation when I go to build my water system for drinking. When I go back to my claim, hopefully I'll have the money to pay you.
Dave, I will donate it to you.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Because I got a system. I got a associate, Warren Marcus Davis, and you should look at Jefferson Mining District. There's a film up there where they interviewed him and me, and a couple of years ago. But I'd like to make a correction on what you said. Human beings are, under Black's law, considered beasts of burdens and mining slaves. You want to say citizen. Citizens have rights. Human beings don't.
Well, I think the thing I don't like about the term citizen is that it means that I'm subject to a government, and I don't see myself as being subject to a government.
It means you have rights within your state and your county. First, the order of business is you have your county at the top. Well, first you have the citizen at the top as the sovereign, and then you have the county, your local government, then you have the state, and then you have the federal government. Cities don't count. Cities don't count. They're administrative. Cities are to impose restrictions on the citizens because they are a local government and they can pass ordinances separate from the county. But like cities are taxing authorities, but the county collects the tax. If the county said to the cities, we're not going to collect the tax anymore, they're not obligated to do so. Because you could go to the county and argue that the tax is unlawful and it's a constructive trust, like say on water. And you could go to your county commissioners and lobby for them to no longer collect the tax. And the cities have no ability to collect under the law because they have to collect through the county, and they're called pass-through dollars. Now back to mining, so that we don't have a lot of time. So if you're going to look for a claim, first off, you get a map of the area you want to get. You get a U.S. geological map, and it can be just the one section you're interested in. And so then you go out. Once you get an area you want to pick that you believe is a merit and character, you go out and you take samplings, and you don't have to identify all the ones, but the easiest one for people to identify is gold. And most everybody can say, now they can be fooled with fool's gold. That's because pyrites, you find, wherever you find gold, you can find pyrite. Where you find pyrite, not necessarily, it's only 50% that you'll find gold. And the easiest test for pyrite is take a drop of sulfuric acid and drop on it. If it dissolves, it's not gold, because gold won't dissolve in any form of acid. It doesn't decay. There is no decay rate. It's one of those things that's indelible. It's gold lives in perpetuity, or in my. And by the way, that's one of the meanings of my last name is in perpetuity.
Oh yes.
Anyways. So if you it takes legwork, and then it takes going to the county and looking up where you're going to plot the land, because you have to register it with the county, and there's county fees for filing a claim. You have to file it in the county, and then you file it with the BLM. Once you're going to decide on filing it, and they've been on the aspect of raising all these fees. I haven't filed a new claim in a while, so I don't know how much all the fees are. You'll have to get those from the BLM, the exact fees, and then and pay those. And the BLM's made it a little bit harder to get a claim because of requiring 2 years maintenance paid up in front for you to get the claim, which is a form of fraud. So first off, if you got an area in mind, first off, what I would do is I would go to either the Gleese Mining District website or the Jefferson mining thing, and they can give you a general idea of where mineral lands are that are known versus ones that they're not known. Now, I'm not saying there isn't minerals in other areas, but if they're not known, it's harder to file a claim on it because they haven't been discovered before. It'd be considered a new discovery. Once discovered, always discovered. It can never change, and they become part of the grant or the trust. So there's certain regions in the country here in Oregon and Northern California. You got the Siskiyou Mountain Range, and there's the whole Siskiyou Mountain Range, both sides of the border, are mineral in character. And so if you could get up on the Pacific Crest Trail, you can go out there. Now, it's a little different if it's a withdrawn place. Now, because the Pacific Crest Trail is a right-of-way and it's a highway, you can't do anything to the highway. And now they called trails back then. I got to shut my phone off. Facebook is blowing my phone up. Oh, that was the wrong phone. The other phone's in my pocket. I have a phone that was donated to me so I could charge my batteries. But anyway, so the deal here is there's lots of places up on the Pacific Coast Trail, and you can, wherever the entry points are on those, that's your access. And then you can hike up in there and find a stream that's running down the mountain. And you always want to start with the stream because the most important thing for a mining claim is having water on it. If you don't have water on it, it makes it a lot harder to process it because you need water to wash your mineral. And so you go up there, and now they don't want you riding quads on the Pacific Crest Trail, but everybody I know that I've heard that's done it has never got caught. So, because the Forest Service or the BLM have to fly in by helicopter to get you, and by then you're gone. If they had a report of it, and the people hiking up there that would see you wouldn't be able to get out before you would be gone. So
you'd get some dirty looks, that's for sure.
And there's a legend out here on the Siskiyou Trail that the Forest Service has been in war with a guy named Viking Dave. Now, I haven't met him.
Viking Dave?
Viking Dave.
Okay.
He's lived up there for years, and they've been unable to catch him. He's got so many tricks up the sleeve, and excuse me, but the fat-ass Forest Service Leos, unless they're young men, would drop dead if they tried to catch this guy. They've actually flew in with helicopters and landed, tried to chase him around. He had so many things set up, they were lost. Anyways, that's just another story that of Dave's, legendary Dave's in the Applegate. I thought you'd like that one.
That's good. I wonder what he's doing up there.
I don't know what he's doing, except that he lives off the land, is what I've heard. And people that have met him, that are like-minded like him, say he's just a stubborn Viking. And by the way, I'm of what you call it, Norman descent. That makes me a Viking. So maybe I'm just as stubborn.
Yeah, I think I have some in my ancestry as well.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't like who I'm related to, so I won't mention it. You already know. But anyway, so once you've decided on a location, it this is where you need help writing it correctly. So I can't do all the legwork for you to go research where you want it, but you could get a hold of me through Facebook or Roaring Bear, or you could get it through to me, not by email because I get 100,000 emails a day. It's impossible for me to go through that. It's just me. And so unless I know an email is coming, I might not see it. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of stuff, I get like about 1,000 of them are spam. I don't even go through those. I just delete those.
Right.
And so, my email address isn't very good. So Roaring Bear is a good way, or my phone number through a text with your number, and I could call you back. Mm-hmm. And we can give my phone number out later on in the show if you like.
That's up to you.
Yeah, I don't mind giving it out because, hell, Facebook makes it ring off the hook anyways. And I only got like 50-some people, but because of their connections, Facebook is better than I thought it was once I learned how to use it. And it takes me a while like that. Mm-hmm. And then on LinkedIn, I've got 25 members that connect me to 4,025,000 people. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to tell you right now, if you want something private, put it in the notice that it's private so I don't accidentally share it. Because I pretty much, I'm an open book. I publish a lot of stuff that's public unless I know it's private.
Yeah, and you send me stuff to make public all the time.
Right. I do that because you guys got bigger. Well, on Facebook, you guys are bigger than me. And the only place I'm bigger is on Google Plus because you're not on Google Plus. And it's a really interesting system. And Google Plus, if you're doing something wrong, won't let you do it. And if you're doing something they want you to do, they spread it like crazy. And so far, I haven't violated anything that Google Plus. They list me on the Circle ranking as just around 25,000 out of a possible 26 million on the ranking. And the lower the number, the higher the ranking.
So, Dave, what kinds of things can you do once you've identified and you actually
have a claim?
It's a patented claim, correct?
No, it would be an unpatented claim at this point. You have to prove a reasonable man that could make a living. And it doesn't mean the minimum wage. It means would a reasonable man go dig it up to make his daily bread?
Sure. Okay.
And then that makes it go to patent. Okay. Well, and so right now there isn't a trustee over the grant. And so most of the guys that have sued for patent that won had to sue in court, and it took them 20 years to do it. That's why my case, I've asked them to appoint the Inspector General of the Department of Interior to come and defend the grant as a trustee and name a person, not an agency.
Sure. Yeah. So, okay. So you've got this period of time before you have a patented claim.
Right. You have to prove reasonable man. Now, but an unpatented claim and a patented claim are equal. It's just a difference of you have maintenance to do on a patent or fees to pay every year, and it's not rent. It's called a constructive purchase and payment.
And this is on an unpatented claim.
Right.
Okay.
You have to do what either maintenance, meaning show that you're mining, or show that you're doing mining. And a lot of things count for that. Building fire breaks, digging ditches, all that kind of stuff count. Mm-hmm. Any legal work you're doing count. And so I've been able to put down all the fight I've had with the Forest Service in my thing, and I've only had them object once to the legal stuff, but they couldn't deny it because Warren Marcus Davis, my associate, since I've been ordered not to mine, and since before I was convicted, has never stopped working my claim. My claim is under operation under my unincorporated township chief of engineering and planning, Marcus Davis, and he's a citizen of my mining district.
Yes, and this is kind of a side topic we've covered in depth on Double Cross Radio with Miner Dave's problems.
Now back to your question, and you can do anything that you could do in your own home, but only without any encumbrances. You don't need permits.
Right. Okay. Now,
but the Forest Service says you do. So, and they want you to do one if you're going to live on it permanently. So, I advise people.
Well, what I don't understand, like in your case, they said you were occupying your claim. I've never been able to understand. At what point do they determine that
they want me to do a plan of operations that's not required for me? And the BLM geologist, when I said they want me, the court has ordered me on a past sentence that if I wanted to go mining, I'd have to do a plan of operations. And I couldn't mine on my own claim, but if I was going to go mine for anybody else, I'd have to do a plan of operations.
So are you limited by how many days out of the year you can spend actually working your claim?
You can mine year round.
Okay, can you build structures on your claim?
You're allowed to build structures, and they're to be permanent ones, not temporary.
Can you build a structure that you're going to sleep in while you're working your claim?
Yeah, that's called incidental to mining. It's called a secondary issue that it's allowed.
Can you have temporary structures like tents that you're using?
Yes.
While you're mining.
That's considered, a tent is considered by the Forest Service and the BLM as a permanent structure.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Are you able to construct things like, can you dig a pit toilet?
Yes, you can dig an outhouse.
Are there any, do you fall under the jurisdiction of the EPA when you're doing things like that?
The EPA you're exempt from all EPA regulations because of the grant.
Do you have to submit to them like plans of things like that and drainage?
That's what they want. The Forest Service is acting like the EPA. I've never seen the EPA, and I've never been charged by them. The kind of work I was doing at the time was pick and shovel, and the EPA doesn't have jurisdiction when it's just pick and shovel. Mm-hmm. They have jurisdiction over some mines. And so does the Forest Service and the BLM. Mm-hmm. The jurisdiction they have is over coal, gas, because you have to pay royalties on those to the different agencies.
Right.
And then the EPA has jurisdiction over you when you're mining coal or drilling for oil or any of that. And that's lawful because it's a government, it's technically government-owned property by title. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't put in a trust like the valuable mineral deposit land grant and trust. They're called split estates. In the split estates, like say you got a valuable mineral claim, it's possible you could own the minerals and not own the surface estate. That could be owned by somebody else because you're allowed to sell one estate as one estate and keep the other one. Or in this case, let's say the Forest Service in Pennsylvania purchased land from the private property owners at the time to make a reservation for environmental reasons, but they didn't buy the mineral rights because they didn't want them. Mm-hmm. And so private parties, like in Pennsylvania and other states that have oil, Texas is the same way, but Texas has more private land because Texas wouldn't allow the sales to go through like Pennsylvania did.
So we're getting some questions from the chat here.
Okay.
Do you have to prove a profit from your mining efforts to maintain the claim?
You don't have to tell anybody how much you're making. It's considered proprietary.
Do you have to show effort at mining at all?
You do that through your maintenance reports by telling them the work you've done and the value of what you think it's worth. Mm-hmm. You have to sign an affidavit to that effect.
do you think that if you're going to go for a claim, you should go for a gold claim, or should you go for some other precious metal or ore?
Once you claim gold, you claim all the minerals. So you don't, you don't have to be specific on the minerals as long as you got one. If you had copper, you could do the copper, but you would get all the minerals.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't find one mineral, you find them in layers.
Now you've got different types of mining claims, right? Like you have a placer claim.
That's one estate that's split off from the hard rock.
Okay.
Now hard rock, you're allowed 20 acres, and from what they call the peak where it's at the top, you own it all. Now technically, it could be 20 acres of where you start, but some of these hard rocks have gone 20 miles, and you own it all.
Mm-hmm.
But you're only allowed to file 20-acre claim one at a time. Now, they can be associated. You can have partners in it. You can all file together,
right,
or one individual can do it. Now, in a placer, they have you can have 8 people to a claim, and you can get 160 acres. But right now, you'd have to pay for every 20 acres for 2 years, $140 for each 20 acres. Or if you had 90 acres, it's prorated. So if you had 50 acres, 10 of that acres would be half of $140. So it'd be they prorate it. And the rules change now.
For our listeners' sake, describe what a placer claim is.
A placer claim is where the hard rock is busted up over erosion. And the best way to explain it is there's no such thing as a riparian area. A riparian area is known as an alluvial deposit. And that's where you have a creek where it's narrow and it widens out. And then it narrows and widens out. And it narrows and widens out. That's called an alluvial deposit. Mm-hmm. And it's usually full of sand and rock. And the gold could be anywhere. It could be in the rock as well. You might want to crush it and run it through like a hard rock. But because it's considered pieces and not one solid form of formation, that it's where the gold or the mineral is permeating through the common rock, where you have to crush it, run it through a ball mill, and then collect your mineral out of it. And there's, depending on the mineral, there's several different ways to collect it. Mm-hmm. And as many ways to do that as there is to cook. Mm-hmm. So they call them split estates. And that's, you have a surface estate and you have a mineral estate. In this case, I own both on my claim, where some people have bought patented property, whether it be patented for agriculture or whatever. Agriculture, if you have an agriculture, it's inferior to a mineral estate. If later on they gave you an agricultural permit and it was done in error, you lose that property to the mineral estate. If somebody comes out and files with your permission to be on the land and finds minerals, they can take your ranch or your farm away because it was miscategorized as agriculture or as cities. If you take the city of Grants Pass, they at the beginning it was agricultural, and then later on it became development for cities. Mm-hmm. Well, that all has to be torn down because there's mineral there. Oh. It's a mineral. It's on about 15 or 20 different minerals from guys that I've talked to that have it in their backyard. And they've actually filed claims on them and gotten patent issued on them. They're digging in their yards now, or digging on their property and mining it now without the city knowing it. And I'm not going to say who that is, but those mineral estates, if you have a house and somebody was in your front yard and all of a sudden they found a nugget, you could lose your property and they could tear down the house, or they could live in it. You actually lose it if you took them to court and sued the government and that individual for a fraudulent transfer of the mineral estate to the agricultural estate. And so, unless your land was originally patented by claim, it's supposed to be what they call without any encumbrances. And that means no property taxes.
Right.
You can't be told what to do. You don't need a permit to do anything.
Right.
You have a right to make it a township, an unincorporated city, and a mining district, and they're all interchangeable. Means if you find that your property was originally it was patented all the way back to the first patent, you can form a mining district and an unincorporated city. I don't suggest you incorporate anything because then that's to sell bonds so you can pay taxes. Well, if you've got a 5-acre parcel that was subdivided, you can show that it was originally in a mining claim. You can form a mining district and an unincorporated city, and you can withdraw it from any taxes.
You've done this, haven't you?
I don't pay taxes on it because it's not patented yet.
Right.
Unpatented claims are not taxed.
Colby has a question for you.
Yes.
What is the law on homesteading, and can you still do so?
You can mining claims are for settlement because they disposed of them in a grant. The original agricultural grants, Congress could repeal those because they weren't, once all the good agricultural lands were taken, nobody was filing on them. So in 1976, they repealed it. The only place they left it open is Alaska, and you can do 20 acres there now.
And I want to add here is that Miner Dave is a miner at law, not an attorney at law.
That's right. I'm making a distinction because a miner at law is the dominant attorney. I stand above everybody. A miner at law is it's an old term because in the old days, attorneys weren't allowed in mining courts. If you were an attorney, you showed up as an attorney, you were thrown into jail for practicing mining law. Mining law. You had to be a miner to be a miner at law because. And so, because I'm Secretary of Mining, I'm the local administrator of my mining district, chief law enforcement, and controlling legal authority with home rule, and I'm the rule maker. So that's the question. No, the only place you can go to file an agricultural homestead is Alaska. The only other homestead you're allowed to set up is under the mining law. But if you go out and build a cabin, I now got the fire marshal not to let them burn them down. But they will come in and deconstruct them. If you see a video I shared that somebody put on the website on my Google Plus, he's a friend of mine, but I only know him as, he's got a picture of a marijuana plant, and I call him MAJ Dash. And if you type that into Google Plus, and he's on your Facebook, it's a long, complicated number, but there's 420 involved. I'd have to look it up, and I can't do that right now for that Facebook. But I shared the video he showed of the Forest Service taking a guy's tent that they could have just easily disassembled and packed up. Mm-hmm. They took a backhoe with claw crunchers on it and mashed it all.
Right. Completely destroyed it.
And they were very cruel in this guy. And there's a picture of I believe him to be a miner. I don't know if he was or wasn't. But you could see the sadness in his face. Mm-hmm. And if you look at that video, it'll make you cry at the loss of our republic.
Yeah.
And property rights. And the guy had lived there probably for a long time because he had a clean camp. It wasn't like, I call them greenies because they're green now, but they used to be red. You know?
Yeah.
And
can you have livestock on your mining?
Yes, you can, because you're allowed livestock for mining purposes and eating purposes. You're just not allowed
Can you grow food?
Yes, you can have a garden. You can have rose bushes. Anything incidental to mining that makes mining happen. You're not allowed to set up a bar per se, but you're allowed to set up, if you're a mining district or an unincorporated city, you're allowed to put up a store good place to sell to miners. But you're not allowed to do it unless you're a mining district.
Right.
And you can be organized or unorganized mining district. All you got to do is get the people that were within your district. Now, you can have other mining claims and what they call associated districts where you're associated with that district. Or you can have a district within the boundary lines of your claim. So my 40-acre claim by itself, I formed a mining district within the bounds of my claim. That's where my jurisdiction lies totally 100%, 100% as a government, a local government.
Mm-hmm.
And so my local government could say, I want to be able to sell other miners in the area, and I can build a store. And if you look at Colorado, they beat the state of Colorado. They beat the federal government, and they beat the post office as being. But they incorporated some years after they did that, and because within the bounds of their thing, everybody that lives there pays no property tax, and it's about, I think 360 acre. It's not quite. It's 0.6 of a whole section, and a whole section is quarter section's 160 acres. So it's like 0.6 tenths of what is it? 4 times 160 acres is what is it? 680 acres is a section. So this mining district, which I showed that mining district, and I also showed that you didn't have to be incorporated or organized. So as a local government, when the Forest Service came in, you could have them arrested, and you're allowed to have law enforcement. The jurisdiction only lies within the mineral estate. The county sheriff would still investigate murders. We wouldn't have anything to do with that because you wouldn't be a state agent like, say, the city of Medford is if they were investigating a murder in the city because they're a state agent. Mining districts, by the way, cities don't have to be state agencies or counties. There's still something like 6 or 9 counties in Oregon that are not state agencies. They don't. Their county attorney doesn't prosecute state crimes. The state does. And if you wanted to go to Jackson County and Josephine County and get the people and organize to remove your county as a state agent, the district attorney of the county could no longer prosecute state agencies. And, the state wouldn't have a courthouse either because they use county courthouses as their government, as their circuit court. And really, under the state constitution and federal constitution, we have no circuit court.
Can we talk about subsurface mineral rights for a little bit? So at what point can you start digging, and start tunneling into the ground and actually build out a mine?
Well, it depends on how you do it and whether you're going to be living on your claim. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna go in with machinery. Get ready for the Forest Service, if you're on Forest Service lands or the BLM lands, to come in force and take everything you got. Unlawfully, of course, but that's what they're going to do. It's going to say you didn't have a plan of operations. Now, the BLM, in my case, when I was ordered, I showed them the order that I had to do a plan of operations, and they said I was correct. I don't do a plan of operations with the Forest Service. I do it with them. But they didn't require me to do it, and they weren't going to follow an illegal order from a federal magistrate and a federal judge, and at all. So they refused to let me file one because it's not required under their jurisdiction, and because of the way I was doing it, I was basically doing a feasibility study on my thing, and I was doing it all by hand, which a lot of prospectors do. A lot of prospectors go out, find a claim, file it, and they show the mineral and character, and they'll sell it, and they actually to bigger mining outfits, and they actually make a living going out prospecting, just filing claims and selling them to mining corporations. But most of all the mining corporations that are big went to Nevada because they can't. The Forest Service here are a bunch of fascists, and so they won't buy your claims here anymore, and unless I make it change. And I can tell you right now on my LinkedIn, I've got one of the biggest mining companies in England that linked into me. Now, that corporation's in England. They're not allowed to file claims, but they're allowed to buy them here. This guy runs a huge fund. They actually outright own some mining claims, and they manage a portfolio that you can buy, like exchange rated fund. Mm-hmm. They don't like to call it a mutual fund because they prefer what do you call it, exchange rated funds, because you can get in and out quicker if you need to sell them, and you get it at current prices instead of a mutual fund at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And you have to, and then the regulations on when you get your money are like almost instantaneously once they're sold. So this guy runs one of the biggest funds on the planet, and he just linked into me, and he's got a huge following on LinkedIn. And so I've got the big mining corporations are now getting interested in Oregon because of what the prospectors and the small-time miners are doing here, taking these guys to task. Even though we're not winning in court yet, they can see the potential for that happening. And if that does, you can see the big mining corporations coming in, and people will be able to go out and find these claims, because big mining corporations will either hire you on directly and pay you a huge salary to go out and find the claims, or you can not work for the company. You can freelance, and you can go out and file claims, and you can come out, and they'll conduct more studies before they actually purchase them. You can actually get them to come out and drill where a small-time miner can't afford the drilling, for testing.
I was reading an article recently on prospecting. I'd read about some guys that were using termites. So they'd find termites out in the forest, and then they would analyze them with a mass spectrometer. And because apparently, if there's gold in the soil, they end up ingesting very small amounts.
You do if you drink water that there's gold in the water. You ingest it, and it's actually healthy for you.
Interesting.
Better than silver.
Yeah. So that sounded like if you could afford the testing, that sounded like a pretty easy way to do some prospecting.
No, that would be easier than drilling. The official way, you have to do it to get it to patent.
Right. Of course. Right. But it'd be.
If you can afford this one, you do the 3D. We call it side scanning and depth penetrating machinery they got now, where you can use radar. You can just drive over the place, and you can do radar side scanning, mm-hmm. and they can actually see the mineral. Now, they can't tell you the quantity of it. Right, they can tell you, well, that mineral is there, that mineral, and it goes like 200 feet deep. Archaeology is now using it for archaeology in areas of past civilization, so they don't have to go in and dig up everything if they don't need to. Until they do, it helps them make better decisions on where they dig. Mm-hmm. It's called ground penetrating radar.
Oh, that's amazing. I doubt that most people could afford that.
A guy told me machinery he bought cost him $200,000, but because the company he bought it, and he paid cash for it, because he sold off a business and sold off all his real estate because he didn't like what the county was doing over real estate, kind of like what you did, sold off all the real estate and got out of the business.
Mhm.
And he bought this machine, and he says he charges like about $1,000 a day to cover an area, and that'll be either backpacking in because he can backpack and walk a trail, or he can hook it up to a quad and drive, or he can put it on a backpack and walk. Now he leaves the main setup somewhere where it transmits it back to the main system from a backpack. You're just carrying a thing that relays it. But he was supposed to do my claim, but I lost his phone number, and he kept on canceling on me. So he never did it, even though I saved his life, because he was out deer hunting, and I was on another friend's claim, camp sentence, so they could go home at night, and I was working with them during the day, and he showed up about 9:49 at night in the middle of a whiteout, and he told me he started off at Sturgis Creek Trail deer hunting, and when the whiteout started to come, and he got lost, and he walked 20 miles to Stephen Creek thing where you get off on the Pacific Crest Trail, and then he walked probably another 6 or 8 miles to me, and I got him to help push my car to start it because the starter was bad at the time for the car I had, and I drove him down, and I ran into Sheriff Gilbertson. He was just getting ready to call up the county search and rescue, and Sheriff Gilbertson, I don't know if he remembers it or not, because it was about when I first met him, said I saved the county about $1 million.
Wow, you deserve a reward then, Dave.
Yeah, that's where the guy said he was going to 3D image my claim, and I don't even remember his name now. I lost his phone number, and because the phone I had the phone number in it, I dropped it in a 60-foot well, and I couldn't get it back.
Well, we're drawing to the end of the show here. The bumper music's going to start any second. You've been listening to Off Grid Journey.
My phone number is 541-531-7276.